Sha'Carri Richardson. She recently won the 100-meter dash at the World Athletics Championship this year. And the internet's in a firestorm because previously, when she lost the year prior, social media was in an uproar, and a lot of Jamaicans who won that year were getting in her ass. They were just saying, "You guys ain't good enough. She ain't working hard." Her mom had recently passed, and they was talking shit about her and making memes. And she had something to say. So quote what she said. She said, "I'm glad I'm glad the win I had in the 100 actually brought unity, even though we're competitors. That doesn't mean we have to be enemies." And then she went on to say that because before, there was a lot of disunity on there, and people were talking crazy about me. But I'm glad now that I won, there's actually unity now. So she said it in a very passive aggressive way. What do you think about this?
I didn't even know that there was like any attacks that were going her way about her losing in terms of like the Black diaspora conversation. I didn't even know that was a thing before you brought this topic to me. I think it's like more of a isolated instance. I don't hear about this in any other sport because of the fact that this is like a global sport. When you were talking about track and field, like Sha'Carri Richardson's like in the Olympics and stuff. She's going up against people that are from other countries and stuff like that. So the Black diaspora conversation is more elevated when it comes to those types of sports. If you're dealing with something like NBA or NFL, those are American sports. You're gonna probably have some like foreign blacks in there or whatever from other countries, but it's not gonna be to where like if some dude from like Joel Embiid, for example, in the NBA just recently won the MVP, right? You're not gonna have a conversation in the NBA talking about like, finally, we got proof that a Cameroonian and an African player is better than an American black player. That's not going to happen.
That's exactly not in that situation, but in this situation now, it's almost like smaller country will win. Especially among like African diaspora, it's kind of like we showed those black Americans, yeah. But when we win, all of a sudden this is a win for all of African kind. It's like, no, you was running your goddamn mouth a year ago.
Yeah, but then what are you going to say? Like, because people are going to rebuttal with like, well, aren't we all the same in terms of like the Black diaspora, right?
But when
Shouldn't
we
we all
say
be
that,
on each other's side?
When we say that, it's nah, nigga, you're a Nakata or whatever. You're a Yankee, or some people say Jamaicans call us Yankees. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that. No, I've seen Nakata with my own eyes. I've never seen Yankee. But like it's like, why is it? It's kind of like seems narcissistic. It's like when I win, it's like, oh no, it's not that important. We all won. But when you win, it's like, nah, this is about Jamaicans. Nah, we just a different breed. Nah, we just better. I don't. And you were just saying you want to wear this, but I kind of follow this kind of thing. That there's been like a larger kind of diaspora war going on Twitter since the George Floyd riots. I've seen it, where it's just been a lot of African Americans are kind of getting tired of being talked crazy to a lot of Africans.
Pan-Africanism.
Yeah, or like there's like been a rejection of Pan-Africanism, at least among a lot of black Americans. There's been like an overall rejection of Pan-Africanism that hasn't been taken very well, because it's kind of like I said before, it's like I'm an Akata or Jareer or whatever slur. It's a slur for us, but do we have slurs for Somalians or Jamaicans or Africans? Or
not
whatever?
really, but we do have like our own like I guess you can call it. I don't want to call it prejudice, but like our own like we've been indoctrinated. Kind of brainwashed to believe that like Africa is like subpar, not even just like the specific African countries, but just like Africa as an entire continent.
Right.
You think of Africa, at least most Americans, it's probably like a Western thing, but like you think of Africa and you think of like impoverished, you think like undeveloped, no infrastructure, no internet and shit like that. Like niggas just out here and they fucking draws and shit, like sipping water out of a fucking river. That's what you think of. So it's probably like a lack of education on that. Not probably. It is a lack of education on that end. Right. But yeah, like I don't know. What do you think?
I just felt like, dude, like I feel like we've always welcomed Africans in. Like a lot of Africans, I'm sure, would probably say, "Well, I got called a booty scratcher in school, and y'all made fun of my name." But I'm like, I know other Black Americans was calling people booty scratchers too. I got called a African booty scratcher. So I don't really think that's the same as calling somebody an Akata or a Jareer or a Yankee or something like that. I just think it's just we just jonesed on each other because we considered ourselves Africans.
Yeah, because what you're saying
because of Pan-Africanism.
What you're saying is that you've seen like there's more of a vocal. I don't know if it's a minority or a majority, but like on the internet, you'll see more people actually having like vocalizing their prejudice against
Yes.
other
other black
specifically
Americans,
like black Americans, right?
Yeah, or we get told you guys have no culture,
and you don't
right?
see it vice versa. Yeah,
don't see
that
it.
culture thing is like a big thing.
Oh, and we can move into Burna Boy, who's a rap, or we can move into Burna Boy and Akon, right?
Right.
They've both been very vocal over the last couple of years, like black Americans got no culture, just in disarray. Come to Africa.
And
I'm
there's
like, my
black
nigga,
Americans that say the same thing.
I've heard it more. I was at the park one time. Black America was like, yeah, man, we don't know anything. We don't have no culture. I'm like, do you not know what culture is? Our culture is literally American culture.
Yeah.
All the way back to the fucking banjo, to jazz, to rock and roll, blues, to modern hip hop. All that is ours. Look at K-pop. Tell me we don't have a culture and the whole world copies us.
But what do you think
Japan-
it is? Like, what do you think makes them think that like the cult? Like, what is it about that word culture that people don't associate it with like the arts? Because I think when people say that, I think it's more aligned with like the amount of power, maybe, or like the amount of representation in certain spaces that makes people feel like
it's everywhere. If you're talking about representation in spaces, everybody and their mom will not stop copying.
Then
us.
what do you think it is to where people are able to make that argument that there's no culture?
I think it's, I think people make this, or people say that using AAVE, by the way. They'll say that we have no culture while wearing clothes that look like us, speaking like us, listening to music that we've made, the whole 9 yards. But I think people say this is like, they're like, well, you don't have a culture going back thousands of years and all this traditional yeah. I'm like, when's the last time you seen an African dressed like he was on the set of Coming to America? You talking about culture. You come over here with a do-rag and your hat backwards, and you listen to hip hop, and you doing, street graffiti, all that stuff, like hip hop movement, everything. You talking with AAVE, and they be talking about they don't have no culture. Well, everything he's doing is trying to copy the swag of a black
Americans.
Male.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, dude, like, it's everything is to demean us. Like, that's what I'm saying. So going back to Sha'Carri, everybody thinks that, but then I think people say this is because if they can say you have no culture, all of your wins can be attributed to them, while they don't like you either. It's easy to just be like, if Sha'Carri wins, she don't got an ethnic group anyway, so her winning means that Kenya won. And you can feel that you got some kind of fake win.
Because she's still black.
Because she's still African. She don't know where she's from. She's beneath us, but it's still a win for Africa.